to elect a candidate to contest the March 3 by-election.
Also, Africa Center for Energy Policy proposes serious power sector reforms to deal with systemic challenges affecting effectiveness of the Energy Sector Levy Act.
Later this afternoon, family of 39-year-old man demand justice following his gruesome killing in the Sherugu forest within the Bolgatanga municipality of the Upper East region. It's News Central here on TV3. I'm Kamini Amano.
And I am Mawina Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. Now, in under 24 hours, the governing NDC in the Ayawaso East constituency will head to the polls to elect a parliamentary candidate for the by-election there. The Electoral Commission has set March 3 as date for the by-election following the death of the MP for the area, Mahama Nasser Toure. The opposition MPP, meanwhile, has selected Baba Ali as its candidate for the election. Ahead of the primary for the NDC, however, a new poll by Global Info Analytics has placed Hajia Amina Adams as a clear frontrunner in the upcoming primary, giving her a commanding lead over her closest rivals. According to data by Global Info Analytics, Hajia Amina Adams, who happens to be wife of the deceased MP, commands nearly 58% of voter preference among delegates and party supporters surveyed. Let's walk you through the data points this afternoon on our dashboard as provided or captured by the Global Info Analytics for us this afternoon to get an understanding really as to what the outlook is like and where she stands and what the elections look like as well. Obviously, a lot of people have been reacting from the different camps who are looking to pick up that slot come tomorrow when the 1,000+ delegates go there to vote. And so this is just a breakdown. What we're seeing is a breakdown in terms of the areas within the constituency where voting is expected to take place. They will all congregate at one place, but these are the areas where the elections or the key areas within the constituency and pollings have been done from there. Now, we see Hajia Amina Adams down here, and then there is Honorable Baba Jamal as well, who happens to be Ghana's High Commissioner to Nigeria, as a matter of fact, coming in to contest this particular elections as well. Now, what we see is that there is quite the preference for Hajia Amina Adams in a lot of these areas, and so for Ruga, for instance, and I'm just going to stay or select like 2 or 3 of these areas where the sampling was conducted at. You see she has at least 66% of the persons who were polled from this particular part of the constituency say they prefer her to lead. In areas around the 37 military hospital, for instance, where Baba Jamal, Ambassador Baba Jamal or High Commissioner Baba Jamal appears to have taken the lead, you see Hajia Amina Adams as well in very close contention in terms of wanting to split the vote in these areas. But this is what, after all of that, the computation comes together. This is what we see. Hajia Amina Adams, who is the wife of the deceased MP, is the most preferred per the polling numbers that we're seeing. 58%. Then High Commissioner Baba Jamal, 32%, Mohammed Ramni, 5%, Dr. Yakubu Azindo, 3%, and then the last person, Najib Mohammed Sani. But we're going to ask one simple question: why this particular parliamentary primary is very important for the NDC. And here's why. Because since 2000, the NDC has won the Ayawaso East constituency pretty comfortably. In fact, it's almost a foregone conclusion that when you nick the primary, you're a member of parliament. And in 2024, Muhammad Nasser Toure won by 70.9% in terms of the turnout and the vote he was able to poll for himself. And so this is why the primary, the parliamentary primary in the Ayawaso East constituency has piqued quite the interest. The NPP just did a selection. They affirmed one individual, but for the NDC, we're seeing the wife of the late MP, a high commissioner to Nigeria, amongst other persons, seeking to pick up this one slot and make their way to Parliament. But let's take you to the constituency right now, where my colleague George Quinn is stationed to give us a sense of what delegates are saying ahead of tomorrow. George, talk to us. What have the delegates been telling you?
Very good afternoon. Thank you so much, Wena, for this very opportunity. And it's actually about the Ayawaso East by-election. And tomorrow, the NDC is going to the polls. They're going to elect their parliamentary candidate. It's actually, we used to be 6 aspirants, but one has pulled out. And so there are 5 candidates. And out of this very number, we have the wife of the late MP, Haja Amina, as part of this very contestant. And it's the NDC that is deciding tomorrow. So we want to speak to some of the delegates and even speak to an electorate. So the main by-election is on March 3, and of course TV3 Media Command Center will be following up on this and give you all the latest updates, anything related to this very election. But let's speak to this very delegate. You're live on TV3 News Central. What is your name?
My name is Marian Angelina I.
And what actually are you looking out for before you make this very decision?
I looked after this opportunity to look after this decision because Ajia Amina Adam is a very virtuous woman. She likes everybody. She's a mother of all. She does not say she's a Muslim. She will do everything to Muslim, but she's doing it to all the tribes. That's why we made our decision that we'll vote for her to win.
And so the way you're talking, I don't know if you have a relationship with a woman. Do you have any encounter you want to share with us? What has she done to you that has made you have this love for her?
She has done many things for me. With the husband, she gives me money, she feeds me, everything that I want. When I approach her, she gives me. That's why I loved the woman.
Okay. Babalaji, let me talk to you. You've been in this area since you were born, and you know, when you talk about Nima, it's a place that is known for notorious activities and all that. And how concerned are you that you really want an MP that can actually change the narrative of that very community?
Yeah, let me address first the notorious part of what you said. Yeah. This is an idea of what Nima used to be in the past. But I know you've been to Nima several times. You can attest to the fact that Nima hasn't been like that in a very, very long time. So, in as much as the place is peaceful, we still want someone who would still paint a positive image of the community and then do to us what we want to move the community forward. Not even the Nima community, but then the whole constituency. So,
what are some of the challenges that are bedeviling your community?
We can talk about education, we can talk about our road networks, we can actually talk about our employment. But then, if I'm going to be honest, you see, things has been changing for a while. Things have been changing for a while. We've been seeing road networks being built. Recently, the Nima Police Command made a task force that dealt with these students that will go and sit at mobile and all that. Yeah. So things are moving in a positive direction. And so we just want someone who will come and continue those works, someone who will empower the youth and empower law enforcement to do what's right.
So what are also your expectations? What are your expectations?
Yeah, my expectations are, I hope and wish tomorrow the delegates of Iowa East will make a very good decision by voting for Hajia Amina. Because when you go on the grounds, you hear a lot about her. She's someone who is very down to the earth, very sober. And in politics, we want people like that. We've seen it before, and we are seeing it now, how His Excellency is being sober and very respectful to electorates. So I think that's the number one thing that the Nima Iowa East people should consider. And secondly, as there is a saying that if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. The same as if you vote for a woman, you vote for your peace and tranquility. You vote for your going forward. You indeed vote for your children, unborn generation. So I'm appealing to them. In fact, it is high time that Ghana should show the whole world that we indeed respect our women. Yes, thank you so much.
So if you just tune in, we're coming to you live from IRC East. The NDC is deciding tomorrow. So we actually spoke to the campaign manager for Baba Jamala, and he says he's upbeat that his candidate will actually win this very election. But there's this very post coming from Global Info Analytics, which is suggesting that the wife of the late MP will win this very election. But he says this very post by Musa Dankwa is born out of allegations, and he didn't really do any survey in that very constituency. So obviously, this is what is coming from that very camp. And we also want to talk to the camp of the Hajia, and there are also allegations that sympathy votes is not going to really fly this time around. And my friend here is in the camp of Hajia. So there are concerns that your candidate should actually go through this 4 months, 10 days, something. It's called Ida, right? And so she's defining Islamic tenets. How do you take concerns like this?
I think anybody who is making this concern is just mere fabrications. The delegates and the community know that Hajia is committedly observing the Ida. That's why she's not on the ground in person during the campaign. All the delegates know that she's not on the ground campaigning. So how can somebody come and tell you that Hajia has defied that? What the Ida is, basically, Islamically, is a waiting period. It's a period of time either for a divorcee or a widow to avoid remarrying. So it's a waiting period until when you can marry again. And there are things you can do and things you cannot do. But essentially, what Islam says a woman cannot do in this situation is adornment. As much as possible, you do not do adornment to beautify yourself. And secondly, it's also as much as possible to reduce social interaction and be at home as much as possible, especially at night. But during the day, scholars and Islam have permitted when there is a need or you have any urgency to address any issues, you can go. And that, you see, whatever Hajia is doing is within the tenets of these dictates.
If I'm right, you're actually part of the aspirants to make it 6, and you've pulled out. What really went into your decision?
Oh, basically the streets were calling my name because...
When you say streets, is it like streets?
No, the youth. It's a language.
That's what you call, okay.
Yeah, the youth on the streets.
Okay, sure.
But not all of them were delegates. These were people who know what we're doing. But then after they made this call, we went to the delegates. We went to the opinion leaders, the makers of the community. And they said, Salam, you're a very good candidate. But currently, what everybody is saying is Hajia Amina. And for me, fortunately, Hajia is my mother. I know how committed she is to service in terms of youth, in terms of women empowerment, in terms of how supportive Hajia is. And a lot of people have assumption thinking that Hajia is somebody who is just sitting at home and because of the vacancy of the seat she's coming. No, Hajia has been involved in the political...
But not to cut you short. So, usually in cases like this, sympathy votes, comes through for the spouse. But the camp of the Baba Jamal says this time it's not going to work.
Hajia is not going into this contest for sympathy votes. She's going into this contest for competence votes. Okay. The people know how hardworking she is. And you see, the camp of Honorable Baba Jamal should just relax. Hajia has beaten Baba Jamal at the last contest. At the last primaries, it was Hajia that led the primaries. She was the one who beat him. And so she knows how to beat him. And coming tomorrow, Ajia is going to beat him for the second time. And I always said, our Jama is afraid of women. In Akutia, it's the same thing. And
These are what allegations?
No, it's the truth. You
Please appreciate this.
If you look at the facts of the matter in terms of his political careers, it has always been that women are his biggest challenge. And tomorrow we will see that. Okay. And I realized that yesterday, Musa Dankwa released his post. For us, we are very much excited about it.
Of course, maybe it's going to your favor, obviously.
Yes, but beyond that, we are working as though we have not seen any post. Okay. We are going to leave any stone unturned. Mm-hmm. Whatever we have done that has resulted in the positives on the post, we are doubling it. Okay. Today is like ground zero for us. We're going all out to make sure that we will make a statement. Okay. Ajia is not going to win. Okay. We're going to make a statement that says that our community is a community that supports women. Okay. We are not a community that discriminates on women. Makes sense. And so that is our message. Okay, so
because of our limited time, we have to end it here. So like I mentioned, more than 1,080 delegates are going to vote tomorrow, and TV3 Election Command Center will be giving you all the latest updates regarding this very election. And so there are 5 aspirants in the camp of the NDC, 2 independent aspirants, and then the parliamentary candidate for the NPP, that's Baba Ali. And so that's what it is. Keep watching TV3. Thanks for watching.
Then, George, thank you very much as well for those details. My colleague George Quinn from the Ayawaso East constituency will take you on to some other matters.
Now, Chief Executive Officer of COCOBOD, Dr. Ransford Abbey, says COCOBOD, the Finance Minister and government are putting in place a funding model to address the current financial challenges in the cocoa sector. He has therefore urged stakeholders in the sector to exercise restraint while they work assiduously to resolve the situation as soon as possible. In a bit, we'll join in a news conference he addressed earlier. Right now, however, I want to go back into time when the minority in Parliament rejects the NPP's complicity in this, asks the government of the day and the CEO of COCOBOD to apologize to cocoa farmers, among others.
Farmers have tended their farms through harsh weather. They have spent huge resources to control pests and diseases. They have toiled to harvest their farms and sold it to the government in good faith. Yet, months later, they are still waiting for weeks on end to be paid. Is this the resetting which was promised the good people of Ghana, or the reversing of the cocoa industry? Farmers are asking. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, it is not only the poor farmer who is suffering. The failings of government and COCOBOD are also hurting the cocoa buying companies, that is the LBCs, and transporters, especially the indigenous companies and local enterprises. By delaying in repayment of cocoa taken over from the LBCs, these business and investments are at risk. They have their working capitals locked up, their progress hindered, and financing confidence undermined. Contrary to what the NDC preached pre-election time to promote indigenous business and investments, they have rather reset to kill indigenous companies, businesses, and enterprises in the cocoa industry. We call on government and COCOBOD to pay our cocoa farmers immediately for all cocoa beans sold and to be sold to save the cocoa industry from slipping back to days of despondency and loss of interest. We demand an apology from government and COCOBOD for this gross dereliction of duty.
Well, on the back of that, Chief Executive Officer of COCOBOD, Dr. Randy Abbey, says COCOBOD and the Finance Minister are doing all they can to ensure a funding model to address the current financial challenges. He addressed the media earlier. Let's take a listen.
Concerns raised by the farmers and what the farmers are going through. We also appreciate the concerns raised by the license buying companies in terms of liquidity and all that. And COCOBOD, the Ministry of Finance and Government are working together to find a solution to this issue as quickly as possible. The truth of the matter is that we have some liquidity challenges. And as you may be aware, contrary to what some people might make you believe, the crop is financed by buyers. That has been the case from the 24-25 season when we crashed out of the syndicated loan scheme. Under the syndicated loan, which went on for about 32 years, COCOBOD will sign contracts for the supply of raw beans and then use these contracts as collateral to take the syndicated loans from banks, foreign banks. And then when this loan hits COCOBOD's accounts, then COCOBOD will also, out of these funds, give out seed money to the licensed buying companies to buy the cocoa from the farmers on behalf of COCOBOD. However, COCOBOD started having some serious financial challenges in 2022 when COCOBOD was unable to service both the interest and principal of the cocoa bills, and therefore asked for a restructuring of the bills. So there was no wonder that in 23-24, for that season, COCOBOD struggled in getting the syndicated loan. For the first time, for those of you who followed the Licobac press conference yesterday, you heard them speak about how the first amount of money they received was on the 26th of January in 2024, when the season opened in September of 2023. So that told you that the financial community had become aware of what COCOBOD's situation was, and there was some reluctance in financing the crop. At the end of the day, COCOBOD even had to rely on the Ministry of Finance for a $70 million bridge financing to be able to purchase the crop in that same year. And that is a loan that we're expected to pay. So no wonder that was also the season that COCOBOD could not supply 333,767 tons of the crop that it assigned contracts to supply, and had sold the crop at 2,600. And I'm giving you just this background to put things in context, so that when today some people who were part of this process or superintended this process and believe that we have short memories and therefore can come and capitalize on an unfortunate situation, we should be able to let them know that they are the reason for why we are where we are. And so in the 24-25 season, the financial community was not willing. And that is how come the syndication failed. And because these buyers had close to 400,000 tons.
Abe is CEO of COCOBOD. Away from that, the Africa Center for Energy Policy is proposing serious power sector reforms to deal with some systemic challenges that have affected the effectiveness of the Energy Sector Levy Act, despite several amendments by governments in the last 10 years. The think tank has noted structural problems hindering effective management, noting how securitization and other measures have failed to address the principal energy sector debt. Parliamentary correspondent Christian Yale participated in a roundtable evaluation of the act. He joins us with a bit more on this. Chris, first talk us through some of the amendments ESLA has undergone and what ASAP is proposing.
Exactly. So when you look at it critically, ESLA has undergone various amendments, not at least 4 of them, with the last one being the 2025 one, which consolidated most of the existing levies. Notable amongst them is the Energy Debt Recovery Levy, the Energy Sector Recovery Levy. We also have the Price Stabilization and Recovery Levy, and then the Sanitation and Pollution Levy. So this consolidation was done in the very last amendment, which happened last year. However, policy think tanks like ASEP are of the view that it has not been able to deal with the systematic challenges for which reason the levy was introduced in 2015. Talk about the principal debt in the energy sector. And so Dr. Gyamfi is of the view that some of these need to be addressed going forward so that we are able to deal with the existing debt crippling the sector. We can take a listen to what he has been saying.
It's falls short of addressing various systemic issues that plague the power sector, which we need to really do a good reform out of it. And I've seen some interventions that are coming from governments around procurement and other key interventions within the sector. But I think there's more room for improvement, and it's gets to show that some of the issues that we've raised around the management and then the allocation of funds around ESLA still begs a lot of question around how maybe the ESLA PLC and those other issues introduce a lot of costs around the management of it, and we are happy to see the consolidation of the funds into one window to deal with the how do you call it, with the debts and the shortfalls management of it. But again, as I mentioned earlier, we can add a lot of money to the ESLA, but that may not necessarily be the biggest thing that can change the future of the power sector. We need to augment that with serious power sector.
Christian, what are ASEP's suggestions on how to navigate the current debt?
Yes, and so right now what we have is the energy sector shortfall and debt repayment levy after the consolidation I mentioned earlier. But there are still losses that are being made over the years, and so beyond the restructuring and the renaming and all the amendments that have been made over the period, there is that need to tackle the losses, the inherent losses, so that in as much as other services or interests are being paid, the principal debt would also be taken care of. We can take a listen again to the ASEP policy lead on climate change and green transition.
The levy has been restructured several times, and it's not really about restructuring the levy, it's about dealing with systemic issues. And as I mentioned, 2015, when ESLA was introduced, we had losses of about 23%, so I think distribution losses of 23%. 2025, March, thereabouts, we were recording losses in the 30s, right? So what kind of restructuring can you still do? What kind of new arrangements can you still do? How much can you still add to the frame, without dealing with the losses? You still recover, you still get a lot of under recoveries, you still get a lot of structural defects, so in the phase where structural issues are not dealt with, you will continue to do restructuring, but that may not necessarily solve that.
Christian Yale, thank you very much for the report. We'll leave it here.
Now, President John Dramani Mahama says Ghana is on track to exit the International Monetary Fund IMF program by April 2026, following improvement in key economic indicators. Speaking at the Ghana-Zambia Business Dialogue in Lusaka, he said inflation has eased, foreign reserves have improved, and investor confidence is returning after recent fiscal reforms.
Decisive reforms, fiscal discipline, and bold policy choices, Ghana has stabilized its economy and restored confidence. Inflation has declined markedly, international reserves have improved, and our credit ratings have been upgraded, signaling renewed global confidence in Ghana's economic management. The Ghana cedi, our currency, has stabilized and investor sentiments have rebounded, as reflected in rising foreign direct investment inflows. We're on track to successfully conclude our IMF program by April 2026, demonstrating our firm strong support for MSMEs, women and youth entrepreneurs, and 5, a predictable, transparent, and investor-friendly business environment.
The president, meanwhile, says there is a deliberate attempt to promote the local textile industry following public discussion over his decision to weigh smoke during his recent visit to Zambia. The president spoke to journalists defending his choice of attire, explaining that the move is aimed at highlighting locally produced fabrics and encouraging patronage of made-in-Ghana clothing.
Okay, it's called the smock in English, but in our language, some people call it fugu, some call it batakari. Yeah. Now, this is a traditional dress that is made by a local industry. It's part of our culture. And so, in the past, it was worn by kings, royalty, and also warriors. When our warriors were going to war, they wore smocks. And the belief was that the smocks were soaked in some herbs and then some spiritual thing was done. So when you fire a bullet, it can't penetrate, you know. And so the smock portrays a lot of things in our culture. And significantly, on the day Ghana, the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence, on the day our independence was declared, our president, Kwame Nkrumah, was wearing a smock. He and all the freedom fighters were wearing smocks. So smocks have become an integral part of our cultural identity. And I want the smock to the United Nations, the highest platform in this world. I'm surprised that Zambians didn't see me in a smock last September.
The Accra High Court has granted lawyers of Vehicle Endorsement Association of Ghana their plea to serve hearing notice to Original Manufacturing Endorsement Company Limited, the second defendant in the suit against the DVLA. The plaintiffs are seeking to restrain DVLA from rolling out a digital or any new vehicle number plate registration system. Despite being joined to the suit, Original Manufacturing Endorsement Company, the single party contracted by DVLA for their new registration system, failed to show up in court on Friday for the case.
That we know this is a very good case for us. If you came in as a second defendant to defend whatever the DVLA are defending, for you to come for the first time, then they have adjourned the case to today, and you don't come with your lawyers. None of them represented. So they have to adjourn the case again to Friday, which we are waiting that the judge has made it clear that, look, on that fateful Friday, that is going to be on the 13th, he's going to give a judgment on this case. He's not going to wait for any of them to come and argue on any issue, because the documents are evidently in front of him, and he has seen them, and he's going to give his judgment on that fateful Friday. Yeah.
How do you respond to comments by the DVLA CEO indicating that as it stands, Omel is a member of your association, and it's not out of place for them to have given the contract to them because you were all in the know, and essentially he was open to speak to you, but he just refused to engage him.
It is not the case at all, because per what the contract says, the contract from that genesis started from 2019. That ended in 2021, that he has won a contract to manufacture, but not to emboss number plates.
You're watching News Central. There's more news ahead. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Now, the family of 39-year-old Norbert Anamzoya Cooper has demanded or is demanding justice following his gruesome killing in the Sherigu Forest in the Bolgatanga municipality of the Upper East region. The Cooper family is therefore calling for a swift investigation and culprits brought to book in order to calm the growing tension in the municipality. According to the family, information available suggests the killing was deliberate and well-planned. They allege that Norbert was invited on the night of January 30, 2026 by unidentified persons believed to be police officers to assist in a case. The family said Norbert's phone went off about 45 minutes after he left to meet the alleged officers, adding that he was last seen when he decided to honor the invitation. His lifeless body was later discovered the next morning by early commuters along the roadside in the Shirigu Forest with his motorcycle and personal belongings found intact. The spokesperson for the family, Bawa Agana Rashid, addressed the media after the burial of Norbert Anamzoya Akupa.
Norbert is 39 years of age, married with 7 children. He had never carried a weapon in his life. And anybody who knows Norbert will confirm this. Never, not even a knife. That is why when he was abducted and murdered, nothing was found on him. We wish to take this opportunity to dispel these wild allegations that he bails criminals at the police station when they are arrested. That is a fallacy and a calculated attempt to give a dog a bad name and hang it. In any case, granted that it is so, which is not the case, who grants the bail? Is it not the same police people? Even the law courts grant criminals bail. So should we say that the lawyers who go to court and seek for bail for alleged criminals are criminals too? Must we kill? The fact is that our brother is an innocent person who was gruesomely murdered by some animalistic characters acting in the alleged name of security.
The family is therefore calling on the police to speed up investigation because they cannot control the growing tension among the agitated youth.
The family demand a full-scale investigation with a view to unraveling the circumstances surrounding the death of our son to ensure that justice is served. We are of the belief that the police know, and by standard security practice, they should be able to identify the bullets used and the security agency that uses those bullets. We expect to see a high-level professionalism and transparency in their investigations.
The police command in the Upper East region off camera say the matter is before them and the culprits will soon be arrested.
Savannah Regional House of Chiefs have called for a bold step towards ending land and chieftaincy disputes, as well as abolition outmoded cultural practices such as witchcraft accusations. Speaking at a general meeting of the House of Chiefs in Damongo, Vice President of the House, Pemberua Bangbani Indefeso, urged chiefs in the region to demonstrate what the institution of chieftaincy is responsive to change and capable of improving welfare of its people. Chieftaincy and land disputes continue to cause social unrest. Social unrest disrupts peace and impede development in affected areas. Christopher Mwako is joining us for a bit more on the story. Christopher, what else can we tell us, or can you tell us about the story?
Yes, so Kemini, if you look at the northern parts of the country, chieftaincy and land disputes has over the years become the major conflicts that the people have been battling with. And the chiefs believe that if chieftaincy and land dispute is what has impeded development over the period, they as chiefs can come together to end these land and chieftaincy disputes. And so the Savannah Regional House of Chiefs is charging other chiefs in all paramouncies across the Savannah region to ensure that they use dialogue rather than force in dealing with chieftaincy and land issues. Currently, as we speak, the Savannah Regional House of Chiefs is dealing with 5 land and chieftaincy disputes by the Judicial Committee of the House. And they believe that if they are able to address these 5 chieftaincy and land disputes that are before the Judicial Committee, they will be able to set a roadmap to ensuring that land and chieftaincy dispute does not occur again in the Savannah region. Let's take a listen to what the Vice President of the Savannah Regional House of Chiefs, Pembiura Bambange and the Fuso, the 4, have been telling us.
Peace remains the bedrock of development. It is not merely the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice, security, well-being, and sustainable livelihood. Regrettably, succession disputes continue to be a major source of conflict in Ghana, particularly in the northern region. Many of these disputes arise from questions of legitimacy, especially in a cephalo society where eligibility for chieftaincy is contested. Successive governments have made limited progress in codifying customs practices and usage relating to succession. Government agencies, security service, MMDAs, and traditional authorities must therefore work collaboratively to eliminate outmoded customary practices.
Well, Christopher, the Vice President talks about collaboration. Let's look at that. How are stakeholders collaborating to ensure peace?
Yes, so the Savannah Regional Security Council, led by its chairman, the Savannah Regional Minister, have also been employing the chiefs and urging them to ensure that they use the alternative dispute resolution mechanism to ensure that they deal with some of these issues. They've also been charging them to take keen interest in ensuring that land and chieftaincy issues, people who perpetrate this crimes are identified and dealt with. For them, the Regional Coordinating Council will not shield anyone who tries to mar the peace of the various paramouncies in the region. Let's take a listen to what the Regional Minister, Salisu Biaoube, has been telling us.
Issues which come to us at Regional Security Council are principally issues of chieftaincy, issues of land, and which are squarely in your bosom. I must equally admit that it is not every chief who has land. A right to chieftaincy is different from a right to land. Let me also say that we would beseech you to send a word so that you would do what you can to limit the nature of disputes in relation to land and chieftaincy. Various investigative institutions and the law enforcement agencies, they will not come and ask of who is right or who is wrong. They are looking at the attack. What is the nature of the aggression? What is the nature of the crime or the violence meted out before they look for any other option?
Well, Christopher, we'll end it here. Thank you so much.
Now, infrastructure development in the Kintampo North municipality is seeing a significant surge as local leadership reports the successful rollout of 7 major projects funded through the 2025 Common Fund. During a recent inspection tour of project sites, both the municipal chief executive and the member of parliament for Kintampo North expressed high levels of satisfaction with the pace and quality of ongoing work, citing continuity as the backbone of the current administration's success.
He highlighted that the 2025 Common Fund allocation has been strategically distributed across education, healthcare, and urban infrastructure. The 7 awarded projects include a 3-classroom block, Chiefs Compound, 2 traffic light installation, and hospital expansion aimed at reducing congestion improve education and bolster healthcare.
With the whole common fund we have gotten in 2025, we have awarded 7 projects in all. 3 of them are classrooms, 1 is a chip compound, and we have 2 traffic lights and a health facility at the municipal hospital. In going around and looking at the projects, I think all in all, I want to say I am so impressed with it. And the work we have come to see so far and the pace at which the contractor is working, we are really well satisfied with it. He's at the level of casting, which is almost 85 to 90% complete.
The MP attributed the high quality of work to the selection of experienced contractor.
So far, excellent, because we are lucky to have a certified GET fund contractor who has been in the system for years. I can only say thumbs up to them and the contractor. And then also to add that we are pleased that so far so good. A government that has come has not stopped any projects and say continue. We will be talking of commissioning soon and not evaluation of former government projects.
With several projects nearing 90% completion mark, municipal authorities expect a series of commissioning ceremonies in the coming months. These developments are expected to significantly ease the infrastructure deficit in Kintampona, particularly in the health and education sectors.
Now, in 2024, Ghana's poultry meat imports reached $373 million, making it one of the top 3 imports with projections of 270,000 metric tons for the year. To boost local production, the Doma West District Assembly has distributed 10,000 birds to 300 residents as part of the government's Nkoko Nketenkete project aimed at revitalizing the local poultry sector. A report by Claude Kumiebisa.
By reducing the annual import bill of $300 million, enhancing food sovereignty, and creating employment opportunities, the Nkoko Nketenkete project represents a significant step towards self-sufficiency in poultry production, as well as a game changer for many households. While distributing the birds to beneficiaries, Dominic Sarkodie, the Doma West District Director of Agriculture, assured that the birds are healthy and well treated and ready for distribution.
In the first place, when they came, we did the first and second Newcastle disease for them. Again, we did first and second Gomoro for them. So for now, the birds are healthy, they are stable. Now that we have given it to them, we have our AEs around all the communities, so we have tasked them to monitor and then also report.
Beneficiaries express their excitement and gratitude to the government for this initiative, highlighting the potential it holds for their future.
Very, very happy. You see, this kind of policy of Nkoko Nketenkete is more beneficial, considering the kind of poultry that we buy from the various cold store, the storage alone, the chemical they use to store them, it is causing more harm. These days, more cases of non-communicable diseases, hypertension, diabetes are on the rise. So with the introduction of this policy, it will go a long way of reducing those kind of diseases.
Looking at the crowd, I was anticipating that I'll either get 10 or 5, but I got 25. I'm very happy, and I thank President John Mahama for this initiative. These days, buying a fowl is very expensive. It will help us a lot. The frozen chicken we buy are not tasty, but I believe this is the best. It will help us financially as well as for consumption.
Stephen Azoba Auni, the Doma West District Chief Executive, emphasized that the Nkoko Nketenkete program presents a vital opportunity for residents to improve their livelihood while contributing positively to the region's agricultural landscape.
You could see the enthusiasm with which the constituents are gallivanting all over, chasing the best. It means that it is something that is very important to them. So we are grateful and we are happy that at least it's an opportunity for every household to have these birds so they can cater for our poultry needs in the house. And therefore, we are grateful His Excellency the President for making this dream a reality. For the first phase, we had 10,000 beds, and we are told that they are in phases or in batches. So this is the first phase, and the second phase will also come.
Launched by President John Dramani Mahama in 2025, the Nkoko Nketenkete initiative has ambitious plans aiming at distributing 3 million beds to 60,000 households across the nation's 276 constituencies, setting a bold vision for the future of Ghana's poultry industry. Claude Kumi Ebisa, TV3 News, Nkankwanta, Doma West District.
Still here on News Central, we're going for a really short break. We're back with one more story that we take the show home. Stay with us.
Of institutions that are already overlapping, that are already duplicated in terms of functions and structures. We already have all of them. Why are they trying to set up another one? Are we not tired of abusing and misusing state resources in the name of politics and creating jobs for the boys? Is it what we want to do for Ghanaians? The young people out there, look at them. Only a few of them even get jobs to do. Why are we continuing this recycling unfortunate inimical policies that are destroying this country?
You need to coordinate all those activities that you need to create the enabling environment for those agencies and institutions to be able to implement 24-hour economy. And that is what we are going to do. And you are beginning to shiver because somehow you thought that 24-hour economy was going to be your Ghana Beyond Aid that never had a policy. You thought that 24-hour economy was going to be like your free senior high school that never had a policy. You are trying to think that 24-hour economy was going to operate like your one district, one factory that never had a policy. Your digitalization that never had a policy. Today, we are walking the talk.
The best conclusion I can say about this is much ado about nothing. I don't see the head and tail, and I would advise the Attorney General that this, my brother, must be bold and advise that this bill must be withdrawn, be looked into, and if possible, be presented again.
Mr. Speaker, this authority is just going to be job for the men. It's just going to be an authority where we'll have another CEO, 3 deputy CEOs, corporate affairs manager. This person, the people President Mahama has still not found jobs for. The only job that is 133, the office, the job of Speaker of Parliament, is the job where you have Right Honorable Abin Babin do one shift, and you yourself, the Speaker, Right Honorable First Deputy Speaker, do the second shift, and the second Deputy Speaker does the third shift. The only job in Ghana that is 133 is the job of the Speaker of Parliament. But no, that is not 24 hours. And that is not 8-hourly shift. It is obvious that in the last 11 months, we have demonstrated capacity. We have brought inflation down to 0 digits. We have reduced interest rates. We have reduced the debt. The debt to GDP has reduced drastically. And Ghana has been given excellent ratings by all the international rating institutions. So this economy is ready to be transformed into a 24-hour economy. And that is why we are now establishing the authority that will implement the 24-hour economy. We remember the launch of your manifesto when His Excellency the President, then candidate, had the clock behind him. 1-3-3. 1 job, 3 staff, 3 shifts. Mr. Speaker, we have read this bill from clause 1 to clause 28. There is no mention whatsoever from clause 1 to 28. There is no mention of an around-the-clock working cycle. There is no mention of it here. If there's any Ghanaian youth out there who labors under the apprehension that what the government has brought is about 24-hour working cycle, please read it.
Well, interesting debates from the floor of the House in relation to the 24-hour economy. Well, that's our bulletin for you today and for the entirety of the week. I am Mawena.
And I am Kemeni Amano. Bye-bye.